don't know if you can hear me. Let's go. If you know, let it flow. In and out. Let's go. I hope you can hear that. Got another dragonfly here. If you wanna do it with me. If you cannot do it, then you gotta go back through it. It's gonna know to the top. It's gonna lock. If you want it, you can do it. If you got it, got to prove it. If you want it, got to do it. Just let it go, let it flow. Do it in the best way you know how. Just do it. Don't think how. Just say wow. It's on the tip of my tongue. It's going down through my tummy. I can feel it, feel it. Feel it, let it flow. Let's do it. Let's do it. It's 7 a.m. on the money. Hey. Top of the day, family. I don't know if you with me or not, because I gotta adjust my eyes from my sun gaze, and my eyes are glazed over. My pupils are dilated. The same thing that the Dogons, that special sacred holy herb that they brought to this rock, they admitted, marijuana, comes from Sirius, the constellation. So I pulled over so I could get my bearings, and the place that I pulled over in 2 minutes after I got here, the sunrise is coming over top of the building. Thank you. Ashe, I had no idea. I just was following the instructions. I understand the assignment to a degree. I am talking to you this morning off the top of my head and wanted you to get some fresh manna. Love plus art equals wellness. I'm Precious Mother Love. Welcome to Heart Happy Hour. Heart Happy Hour. I'm trying to make my heart happy. I'm working on my heart being happier. I've had some, I want to say, recent, I have some heartbreak. My heart was recently broken, and I was watching a program last night, and I think I better go ahead and hit the highway because I am in the process of trying to make sure I head to okay, yeah, there was somebody walking in front of me. Ooh, that sunlight felt so good. Ooh, I felt it unplugged, but I'm still slightly plugged in, mostly plugged in all the time. But I could just feel that solar burst. So anyway, so last night I was watching a program. I was watching Radiohead Rich, and he had folks talking about my city, where I'm from. And I don't think they talked about the things that I've had on the top of my dome. And some things came to me as I was heading as I was on the highway. Let's just say this. Those are times when I do a lot of deep thinking, because you got quiet time. You got to, your body's busy doing one thing, and you get a chance to separate your monkey mind from, if you want, from the activities that the body is engaged in. There's so much autonomic activity that happens that we are capable of doing more at, how Lucy, 5%, we're capable of doing a whole lot. They don't want you to be on the phone. They don't want you to be texting. Those are, dangerous things if you don't know how. The youngins, if you ever seen the youngins, go for it. Hey, what happened? In a house in a comfortable, luxurious place. My bills are paid and my debts are paid in full. I did not mean to play that, but that jumped up off my phone. You guys know I was not touching my phone. My hands was on the wheel. This is the stuff that happens in my life in this movie. And it's not a B movie. Ain't really a life, ain't really a life, ain't really a life. Nothing but a movie. I performed this summer with the remnants of Gil Scott Heron's band, Midnight Express and Amnesia. And I sang that song, Ain't Really a Life, Nothing But a Movie. I got video of that. Check it out. Facebook, Precious Mother Love. But what I was saying is that I started getting some downloads. I started wanting to tell you guys some things. You know, if I stop in the process of telling you something and get sidetracked and sidebar, I want to just say I apologize in advance. I apologize if I don't get back to that subject. I may or may not ever on another episode. It would be great that I did if I do. So this AM, some of the things that came to me was that the system is hangry. It is hungry and it's angry. It's hungry and it's angry. There are several things that are going on simultaneously that are angering the system. And just like, you know, in the religious text, it says, ooh, be fishers of men. Oh, that was fun. I jumped about my seat on that one. I gotta rise. Ooh, these streets are something else. I gotta rise out of that one. So the system is hungry. You know, the feeding, the fishers of men. So they're fishing for men. They've put a system in place to feed the system with the lowest hanging fruit, with the combination of, you know, sweeping for our melanated folks, which are now feeding the system in the other way as well, because there's a lot of other armed forces that, you know, melanated folks have been a part of. You know, a lot of times they travel, they want to go to school, you know, or the benefits, the perks for their scenario outweigh any, you know, the other ways. That's the way they chose. That's their mission. That's they're going into the system through that door versus the penile door. Now, I'm glad I said that word. Oh my gosh. So I think of the penile system, you know, what does it sound like? It sounds like penis, okay, with the S or the I-L at the end, or I-L-E. The I-L-E, you know, isle. That to me sounds like, you know, a monumental or a rock, a piece of land, an emergence from the land. That's what it sounds like to me, you know. But I have never looked it up. But let's just say this, okay? So the penile system wants some activity. And so the feeding system has gone on catching. And to me, it sounds like some of the children's movies, or even some of the movies that I've seen, like Ants, how they have the system, you know, folks work, you know, it's supposedly for the good, you know, and ants, that's what it is. But they're under a different, you know, they are responding to a different frequency. The frequency that we're getting through our videos, our movies, our music is to herd you into a larger picture of systems. So like the body has systems, like our, you know, government has the branches and systems, and, you know, the different executive, well, not executives, but the different systems feed into the bigger picture, or the bigger system, the overlord, the whoever the controller, comptroller, whoever those people are at the highest levels of whoever on the larger scale, and whatever scales those are, global, universal, like people own I've heard it said that there are people that own this rock. So what I have seen in my city, and if y'all know me, y'all know where I'm from, and I hate to get into the political mess of things, but so I have seen them, how you heard the cows into the slaughter gates. Okay, so I've seen them, building up the sidewalks. I mean, not sidewalks, building up the curbsides, building up various, and I don't know, my last couple of videos were the quality of them was so sucky. The quality of my last videos, even some videos never even make it to the public because of how bad they are Xing out my, and that's why I didn't want to say certain words in my title, because at this point the system is super sensitive. It's cranky. It needs to be fed. They built all of these penitentiaries. They built all of these, some of the largest industries are being pushed or being fed right now. So the mental health part of it, they being fed. But let's say this. It is said that the schizophrenic, and I've seen this, myself in real life, they're in touch with, all the different mental illnesses has an element of being able to be in touch with other dimensions. Maybe not necessarily understood. Maybe in the case when you call it an illness, perhaps it's I gotta leave. Perhaps they consider anybody who's outside of their system mentally ill. So folks who can be considered a genius, they've worked out ways to not be tied in and unplugged from the grid, and I geniuses. They've made different types of fuels for our vehicles. They've made geniuses. It sounds like a genus. It sounds like in biology a certain sector of our of a particular species, of a particular anyway, got good grades in biology, don't necessarily remember all the information. Probably need to refresh my memory some. But the systems are hangry. They need to be fed, and they are setting up the lanes of slaughter. They've raised the curves. They're using different types of materials. I've had two people, one car that I was actually in where this happened, but I've had two people that I know of that when they bumped into the curve, just slight bump. It wasn't even like a hit or a bang, but pop the tires. So, what's going on is they want the folks to be led to where they're trying to control the traffic to go to. And they've even got like what they say is a bike lane, but I think that's the military lane. Oh, that's the lane for the pressure. Pressure? Yes. It's definitely a lot of pressure going on. I think it's public harassment. I think it's a high level of a system that has decided what next level of, because they built all of these different systems, these different, the penile system has gone through a lot of newly built um, facilities. But what I'm finding, which is crazy, they have built next to the penitentiaries. Next to the penitentiaries are apartment buildings, and if you look out your window, right next to you is a jail, some sort of holding situation. Oh goodness. Okay, that's the sun. Let me see what I can do to help the sun not be so prevalent right now. In my case, how can I get it to not be right there? Okay, so I can hold it in my hand. Okay, so there is they're setting up, and I think is it that it's needs. Oh, that's even better. So there is a line of feeding. We are feeding the system, and the low hanging fruit is being picked. It used to be that walking while black, driving while black, being in a particular area, while being of a melanated nature could get you kidnapped. And that's under the pretense of whatever the programming is, and the machine, the trained, the all of our peace officers, all of our protect and serve, all of our troops, they're trained. These programs that they have, the XYZ Ultraman programs, that it's all through everything from the videos to the music, but they are, you know, uh, programmed, trained. They actually train them to do, mental telepathy. They train them to do, the police officers are trained in that sort of thing. They're also trained in telepathic and telekinesis, as well as something else. But where they can plant an idea in your mind just by sometimes a word, sometimes a particular posture, sometimes like Spock, they graze over a specific area in conversation, and some specific words are said. You are going to feed into the program. It's been ever since those movies at the movie theaters, when they had let's go get a hot dog, let's go get a Coca-Cola, whatever it was. And, it would be blinking these things on the screen at us, the Pepsi symbols or whatever else that they would be doing to get us. That was it. Okay, so like, is it neurogenetics? Well, let's just say, so there are tests and scientific experiments that have proven that they don't have to teach the monkey not to do something if the parents have been taught not to do something, and that it'll cause them harm. So if they start a particular type of, let me see what I got here, if they start a particular type of behavior, and find that it is that somebody dies next to him in reference to it, and so he'd be like, okay, I'm not going to do that. Or somebody gets caught kidnapped, I'm not going to do that. The monkey, this is the monkey, because monkey minds. So then their offspring, I'm not going to do that. And then eventually it's never even a thought to do that, because over the generations, evolution or neurogenetics or whatever it is, epigenetics, I think it is. Yeah, they learned behaviors based on the patterns of response. I think that's what it is. But anyway, One Love and Wellness family, I really had some thoughts about how we are being led to the slaughter in the nation's capital. That, they they sent these big schools of fish out to be fishers of men. And I'm mixing all kinds of metaphors. But this to me is a move because okay, so if crime is down in my city, if crime my hometown, born and raised where I'm from, if crime is down in the city, okay, so the statistics that covers is, I believe, looking at how many have been prosecuted and how many have been institutionalized or put in the system. So if the numbers are down, and that is what they're talking about, then you're basically saying the system's hungry. The system is not, it wants more money. The system needs more bodies. You need to go out and get my money, bitch. And so this could be what this is. We're herding the school of fish right into the mouth of the big fish. So in my estimation, what I've seen, how they've been, like I said, they're because they would not be building on their own property, new real estate, right next door. They would not be doing that if things was okay. If it was sweet, and the system was running as they have built it for our folks to be put in in these cells, these battery cells, then they wouldn't have to go out and do this. They're setting new traps. This is the new like the crab trap, like when you put the little chicken wing in, or the drumstick. Ooh, the drumstick. And when you put these things in the cage, or wherever, you can actually don't even have to have a cage. That's the way you actually catch them. So they're caging up folks. They putting us in a box. No, hold on one second. Got something that fell. Gotta get it. Got it. So yeah, so there's a lot of this, my thought, from my view, from my picture, from what I see, is that there's a whole nother thing going on. I have sources that told me that the right to the land here in the nation's capital is up. The land rights are up. They have passed the deadline, and there was no new agreement signed. Because now that everything's done out in the open, and I mean, they could have found a way to do it, but since the land rights are up, the moratorium is over, and because it was like, you got to give the land back or make it a kingdom. Then it's not in the system. Then it's because, and that's the way it's going. It's going into the king has a kingdom. The king makes everybody else look dumb in this case. But I am really thinking, seeing, sensing, feeling the new energy shift. It's as though during this month, August, things are getting serious during the time of alignment with Sirius. As of 7/7, that was when Sirius started to align with our sun, and it actually took things to new heights. We had extreme heat, but that's because that white dwarf or the brown dwarf, one of those Sirius stars in the constellation, is lining up with our with our sun, and amplifying the heat. I mean, like I was down in Florida in the month of July after I left Stone Mountain. I took a sabbatical and continued heading south. And so once, and I had been activated. So the sundown in Florida is, you get sun kissed, all right. You better not. You better watch how you work it, how you handle yourself during those times, because you can fall out from that heat. You can, get delirious. If you're not properly hydrated, you can get a foggy mind, and you can and then not even be, you be walking a walking zombie in that sun. So in any case, I was speaking on, aligning with Sirius. And so, when our Lionsgate happened, uh the 8th, 9th, and 10th kind of thing, that is another indication of when the heat is when they turn the flame up, when they turn the heat up, when it gets hotter, you're not outside doing anything but something you're serious about. If you don't have to go out, the warnings are, all over. If you don't have to go, don't go out. And so if it's not serious, hang tight and you wait till the sun go down. But or do what they do, and put up a smoke screen so that it doesn't feed. If we're plant people, if we are, the photosensitive, if we are impacted by the solar energy, if we have any epiphanies, or it's like, if you don't get up before a certain time and catch the sunrise, on most days sunrise is clear. Right after sunrise it'll go away, but on the days when you can get up with the sun and it be a sunrise, you are most likely, if you go out in that sun, you're most likely going to be affected by the rays, the angles of light, the angels of light. You're going to be, I don't know if it's iridescent, you just have to catch some of these rays, and you'll polarize. You will get energized. So, last but not least, before I get out of here, because this system is hangry. The system needs to be fed. The lambs are being led to the slaughter. The lambs, the homeless. Okay, yeah, there may be some encampments in places, but most people just trying to survive. Yeah, there may be some places that there are some, drug activities going on, but for real, ain't nobody sleeping in no drug areas for real, unless they just trying to be close to the dope. I guess, that's like, again, another low hanging fruit. So anyway, the point of my the topic is that, they built it. They built this whole machine that needs to be fed new, fresh meat. I was going to say new, fresh manna. And I know I didn't mean that, but something else I must have meant that was similar to that. New manna, new man, new mans, new men's. It's a time to do that. It's time to, the dinner bell is ringing. They're ringing the alarms, and every night at sundown, like, there are movies where at sundown, there was one I saw recently, that when the sun goes down, you're not supposed to be outside. Oh, those freaking sinners. At dark, you're not supposed to be outside, because you're gonna I almost cried just there when I realized that, because Sinners is a movie that I had to wait to see it. I couldn't see it right away, because my family, my father, my grandfather, like, my grandfather was Ike and Tina Turner's manager. I grew up with various artists coming to my house. I had the Temptations come to my house. They brought their children, and we all went to the pool together. And my grandfather had all these restaurants, and the restaurants, wings and wings, wings and things, wings and more wings. Supposedly the first place you tasted mumbo sauce. Yes, my grandmother was the person who was making those sauces, and yes, she is the creator. The same place. Bill Cosby even said it on the internet. He said the first place he went was on 7th Street, which is where my grandfather's wing spot was, and place that they got it and where they were inspired by it. The thing is this: all I'm saying is that there's a lot of similarities to the movies, to what's going on the streets. So, I said that about my background because I saw some things. I've seen some things. There were parties going on the regular, not so much for, well, I can't say for my grandfather because I don't remember those things from that time. The things that I remember was granddaddy was a fat cat. Daddy, he had fat pockets, and he did some things. He had all kinds of businesses. But I do remember the parties because my father also, see, so in DC, there's a park called Wilmer's Park. Arthur Wilmer and Anthony Wilmer, my cousin and my uncle, teamed up with a couple of my dad and a few other cousins, got together and started having concerts at Wilmer's Park. And Wilmer's Park was known for their live concerts, some hippie stuff too, because I remember a couple of, like, Rare Earth was one of those back in the day bands that come through. That was a European band. But in any case, like I said, the movies are giving us hints and tips, and you got to be woke enough to see this stuff. Not I've seen a lot of fake woke. I have seen a lot of fake woke, because what's happening is they're attacking woke, and by the attack of the woke is more or less from the perspective of, so now you got the fake woke, who they know the keywords, they know the buzzwords, they know the angles to come at, those that are trained in these systems that are systemized, that have been programmed into fitting into the mold for that side of the fence. And so they know that the things, like, they're not even, I say they, but over the years I have seen that there is a lot of missing information in what, like, if you're just going to do what you're told and ask no questions, that's the way some of these roles and jobs are. Back in the day when I was doing a different with the Moorish family, all the, I think, Taj Tariq Bey, there were some groups of folks that they were Metropolitan Police, they were, in the services, in the armed forces. And they were able to, they shook themselves loose from the mental hold, from the position that they were being put in. Do as I say, do as you're told, and ask no questions, because once there was a certain amount of education going on for them in those systems, once there was a certain amount of information that they had access to, it made them rethink, and when I was a child, I did as a child. So when I became an adult, which is a learned position, becoming more wise, getting more information, growing up, then there was a realization that it was glamorized to be whatever it was that they chose to be, that no longer served the purpose of the mission of their lives. Like, now there's a lot of reason to possibly question what you do, and if you don't question it, then that's it's not, then you're fine. If that's the way you think, then okay, that's cool. I just have, as I've seen folks that have decided that I need more information, and they start asking questions. As a matter of fact, I talked to one of my colleagues yesterday, and she expressed she was working in the penal system, and this was for youth. And so there was a couple of new lanes that they were herding them into, like new categories that they were building and herding them into those. And she indicated that by asking too many questions, arousing too much attention, because if you ask a question and that person doesn't know, and they have to go find out, and then that so there's a lot of stuff that will be starting to stir up. And so if they don't want that stuff to be stirred up. They don't want the stuff to be stirred up. They want you to be docile and responsive to the commands, so you don't have to be too woke for that. But so I've seen some folks that are sounding woke, but they got some key words that's from the other side, from the other camp. And as soon as you use those trigger words, those key words, those key frequencies, the things that have been programmed to be hot buttons, to be even pivotal for people to think that you're in the position of being aware of, like I'm just amazed at the things that I can see and see through now, and I'm so flabbergasted that at what I see. There's a war on woke. So much so that there are lots of decoys. There are lots of folks in camps that are double agents, and it's hard to see that if you don't have a certain amount of intuitiveness, if you don't have a certain amount of telepathy going on, so I'll just say this: thanks for allowing me to tap in and turn on right in your face. I did sun gaze just before I got here, and I just helped you. I'm sorry, you helped me to unload the download and to record it. Now, majority of my videos have a lot of distortion in it. The majority of my videos have a lot of distortion in it. The majority of my videos, My Life is a Movie, have a lot of distortion in key places, on key words. When I say key things, and I'm trying to complete a key thought. So I apologize in advance if my message isn't received, and I'm so sorry. There's some of the things that I try to get out, and because I know things and I see things, and I really don't want to be. I think I may have to start doing some other platforms, Twitch or Yap It. I'm going to be starting to do more lives on Yap It. Matter of fact, when I get off of here, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to find my way to the app site, and I'm going to do some of that. So I'm going to go back and do a little early sun gaze, and I still got a nice little window. I'm going to do another little bit of sun gaze, and then I'm going to find my way back into the zone, and I'm going to share there. So Precious Mother Love, One Love and Wellness, Love+Art equals wellness. Check me out on Yap It under Precious Mother Love, and I will hopefully be able to go a little bit deeper and a little bit further. Next level, I'm telling you now. One Love and Wellness. Peace.